Welcome everyone to yet another interesting Friday forum organized by Team Geoparcy. Geoparcy is a scheme that is sponsored by Government of India, Ministry of Minority Affairs to arrest the decline Parsi population is facing in India. Before I begin, I would like to share some sad news. One of our Geoparcy team members, Mrs. Shamla Anand, who has been your host for many Friday forums, recently lost her husband. Our heartfelt condolences from the entire Geoparcy team to her and her family. During these unreal times, many of us have begun to question our very existence and the journey of our life, professional as well as personal. I'm sure many of us feel that it's better if we could pursue our hobbies and turn them into our careers. Today's speaker, Mrs. Mahrukh Bharucha, is one of the few lucky ones who've been able to do that. I'll just give a brief introduction about today's speaker. Mahrukh has been teaching speech, drama, communication skills, voice, public speaking to students and imparting training in learner-centric methodology to teachers in India and overseas since 1986. She has written up team poems, skits, and stories which she uses as teaching and teacher training material and someday hopes to chronicle and publish. Students from her Pune-based academy, Expressions Unlimited, have acted, directed, produced, and stage managed numerous plays, street plays, and theatre shows. Several of her students have gone on to integrate drama into their professions: therapy, training, education, research, business strategies, and even HR. So all of us are in a treat to really get some nuggets of knowledge from Mahrukh Bharucha, the drama queen from Pune. Over to you, Mahrukh.
Thank you, Pearl. First and foremost, thank you to GeoParcy and Parzor. You've always done such wonderful work, and I'm always very happy to be called your friend. I'm delighted to be on this forum. In fact, I believe it was supposed to be all about academia, and I was supposed to be the co-curricular element of academia, because whatever else I am or am not, it's not an academician. Into education, yes, but like I said, not an academician. I really liked what Pearl said earlier, that in these unreal times, a lot of us are questioning our very existence and are questioning what they are professionally. And I think what my talk will be about today is, let's all acknowledge that we are human beings first. I am a human being, and my profession is just something that I do. So let's see why we need these distinctions about something being a hobby, something being a profession, and therefore this entire so-called conflict. Our world is ever evolving, and it's evolving so fast that most of us born in the 60s, 70s, and 80s just can't cope. People like us who probably didn't even have a normal black telephone at home when we were born, now suddenly have technology at our fingertips. If you have a phone with with buttons, well, you're not as savvy as the guy who has the smartphone. And with all this technology and digitalization and artificial intelligence, our basic natural intelligence, or what I like to call the horse sense, is getting ignored. And that's not what I want to talk about today. Today's journey is really about how hobbies could and should perhaps become professions if that is really what someone wants. My presentation today will utilize what is my favorite. Next slide, please. The question wheel. It covers all the points one normally needs to look at whether you are considering a career, whether you're considering it a hobby, a life partner, whether you're thinking about buying a fridge magnet, you're thinking about bringing a pet home, whatever it is, whether it's frivolous or whether it's really important and life changing, if we consider this question wheel as a map, we can sort of, get clarity most of the times. So I'll go through today's topic, which is, as you can see in the middle, that's me, my silly smiling face. And then you can ask me your questions later. Uh, the first 25 minutes or so, I'll be doing all the talking. Then we have a surprise guest for you. And then we'll dedicate the last 20 or 25 minutes, whatever we have left, to an open session, an open forum where you can ask as many questions as you like. Next slide, please. So using that question wheel, let's see what I do. I'm a drama teacher who also has qualifications and expertise or experience with management, and I'm heavily involved with education. Now, education comes in spite of me making that disclaimer at the beginning about not being an academician. But true education and academics very rarely, if ever, have a connection. But that could be a topic for another day. Next slide, please. My journey as a student in the academic world must have started around 1973 or 74. But as a student of speech and drama, which is absolutely my foray, began in 1977-78 when I joined, or rather my parents enrolled me for my first speech and drama class with Mahrukh Bharucha. And no, I'm not married to her son, and no, she's not my mother, at least not my biological mother, but we are still connected. My journey as a teacher began with her way back in 1986, where literally a fresh graduate from school from the month of March went straight into teaching in the month of June. I'll tell you a little more about that later. And since I was born in 1969, I think I've been a learner. I've been accused of going to workshops which I don't need as per other people. But according to me, I do. Because the worst thing that can happen is I will come away thinking that was a terrible workshop. Fabulous. Now I've learned what never to do. Next slide, please. Who do I work with? Well, mostly with students aged 4 to 104 years old. And a lot with teachers, because I believe this work needs to carry on and one has to consciously strive to keep that work going. I do work with corporates when the work comes and lands itself on my lap. And then I will work with pretty much anyone who says, okay, I'm an individual, this is what I need. And if I think I can contribute to that growth or to that success or that learning, I'm happy to be of service. Next, please. Why? Why do I work and do what I do? And I think this is probably the most fundamental question we can all ask ourselves about anything and everything that we do. Why are we doing it? Well, when you look at the human body, the human mind, and human existence, we can do a fairly good job by breaking it up into three elements: our head, our heart, and our hands. So we are talking intellect, we are talking emotion, and we are talking skills. If one can have a wonderful harmony of the heart, the head, and the hands, I think one is doing pretty much what one has the maximum potential for. All the mental health issues, all the stress, all the conflict in this world arises when the conflict between our own heads, hearts, and hands has escalated beyond a certain level of tolerance. then that conflict plays itself out externally, and the internal conflict can become external. And fortunately, in my case, what happened was very early in my life and very, very easily, there was hardly ever any conflict because of the circumstances under which I was born, I was brought up, and privileged enough to be in. Quickly, let me give you an example of this why again. I know a CFO, a chief financial officer, who brings home an obscene amount of money every month, but would actually rather do sculpting or painting, or both, a blend of both. This pay package is so fabulous that every year we hear, okay, next year, maybe next year, I'll retire next year and then do what I really want. Maybe I'll, be able to have enough next year. But when is it ever enough? When does that later ever come? And in times like this, like the lockdown and the pandemic situation, one questions what is enough and what is really truly bringing one joy. So, next slide, please. Why did I choose to tell my story today? Because I think if I can show the connection between one's choices, one's support systems, and one's courage, pretty much all our stories perhaps can be as happy as mine. And don't tell my husband I said this, but I truly am a very happy person. When I use the term courage here, I mean it more from the perspective of one's ability to take risks. Being risk averse, in my opinion, is usually linked to fear. And that fear comes from all over. There's internal fear, there's external fear, there's voices in our heads telling us all sorts of things. We have a term called, we use the term theater of the oppressed when we do drama. And funnily, most of us realize that primary obsession, not obsession, sorry, oppression, primary oppression comes from within. It's your self-talk and the voices in our head that are telling us, don't do it, maybe not, maybe later, maybe this is not the time, maybe you will have consequences that, can't be then overcome, and so on and so forth. Absence of fear doesn't exist. It exists everywhere. It's the getting over rather than giving into that fear that in today's context where I'm concerned is courage. Next, please. So, choice, the first one that I spoke about in the previous slide. Choice is very empowering if it exists and if it is given freely and unequivocally. It is also extraordinarily scary. It's very scary to be given a choice because that automatically puts responsibility on your shoulder. It is so easy to say, oh, that was my fate. Oh, mummy told me. Oh, but my parents didn't let me. Oh, but the teacher said. Oh, but the scores, my aptitudes, my aptitude test scores said this must be it. Absolving oneself of responsibility and somehow focusing only on negative consequences if one takes the decision oneself, this can be very scary. So somewhere along the way, when you have choice, it's very empowering and very liberating. And I enjoyed this independence from a very, very early age. Let's see how. Next slide, please. So somewhere there in that picture, in both the pictures, you'll see me playing basketball. One of the reasons I remained in school and finished my 10th standard. The next slide, please. The other reason I stayed in school was because of the drama that we were always doing. I was part of the drama club from a very early age. I was part of the basketball team ever since the team was formed. I was the tallest girl in school since I was in the seventh standard. So there was just no doubt about which game I was supposed to play. But this was a choice because we had to be allowed by our parents to play. Our teachers needed to encourage us, but well, my teachers usually used to tell my parents, listen, look at her report card. She can do so much better if she works hard. Maybe she'll work harder if she stops playing. Maybe she'll work harder if she stops doing all this drama shama. My parents left it pretty much up to me. They would ask whether I thought I would manage, and I said yes, I'll pass. I didn't always pass all my subjects. I have the distinction of getting half on 100 in my maths terminal exam paper in the 8th standard, which was absolutely sacrilegious in those days in that school. I'm from St. Mary's School, Pune, by the way. So for those of you who know the culture there, I hope you haven't had a heart attack already. I loved doing cookery as a subject in school, and that led me to believe that I would like to do hotel management. So in my 11th standard, I did home science for 2 years, and then I moved into hotel management. Next slide, please. And that's me doing some public speaking, which is my passion, and my husband will tell you my obsession. Next slide, please. So hotel management days came and went. I did my second year twice because I was busy not attending lectures, and I had just met Neville, who later became my husband and still poor him is. And right into my first year itself of hotel management, I realized this is not for me. I had enough intrapersonal knowledge, although I don't think the term was coined back then, to know that this is not for me. I had already started doing my speech and drama classes. I was an accidental teacher because Mahrukh Bharucha had had an accident. She called me in to take some classes, and the love affair began. So it was an accidental sort of foray into the teaching world. But there was choice, because although my dad sort of pressured me into finishing the course, he was like, listen, you've got it, you better finish it. But I finished it and knew that I wasn't even going to appear for a single campus interview. Again, a lot of fear, because all your friends are giving campus interviews, all your friends are getting selected left, right, and center. There are some very good chains of hotels asking if I'm available because I've done internships with them. And I'm going and saying, no, sorry, not interested. I have a little business. I have 50 students, and I think I'm going to be a speech and drama teacher. Whoa, that's pretty heavy duty. Next slide, please. At one point, I took the decision of moving from being a teacher for Trinity College London to becoming I think you need to press that slide twice or thrice for Lambda to appear. And I am now the representative for Lambda. I started off as the Western India representative, and I've now recently been appointed representative for India. Again, a very, very tough choice, because besides the teaching and the fun that I thoroughly enjoy, it comes with a lot of other administrative duties. And well, next slide, please. At one point, I decided to rebrand. That was my logo earlier. You're going to have to press it again now. Mata, thank you. And at some point, when we decided to do certain things strategically, we moved over to a newer, fresher looking logo, which included more stuff and maybe even had all the rainbow colors for the inclusivity factor. Again, choices that we needed to think about and make consciously. Next choice, please. Next one, please. Choice to marry whoever I felt like. Next one. And choice today even to think about what it is that I want to do in future. At 51 years of age, I'm not sure I want to do exactly what I've been doing for the last 30 years, 35 years. I might change my mind, and that's my choice, and that's important because I will then also take the responsibility for it. Next choice, next slide, please. The support that I've got from the family, from the socioeconomic status, the other sort of networks that one develops over the years, I can't tell you how precious that is and how much one needs to cherish, people. Because finally, it is people who jump up to the rescue. One of my favorite little stories to tell is that I told someone a long time ago that you're investing very heavily in your technology and very heavily in your systems and processes. That's great, but you're not investing in your people. Because one fine day, technology will let you down, systems will let you down, so will people. But technology and systems won't put themselves back together. People will somehow jump up, come to their own rescue, come to your rescue, and generally probably just look after everything. And whatever's gone wrong will look after itself. Next slide, please. The support that I get from being a Parsi and a Parsi in Pune, the communities, the Parsi community itself is very, very strong and, very connected, and well, word of mouth is a great thing. Pune is like that. The culture in Pune, even way back when I started work, was like that. Even today, word of mouth has a greater impact than any kind of paid promotion. Next one, please. Family, parents, being the favorite child of at least the dad, if not the mom, helps. That is great support. Next one, please. Even today, as a married lady, this is the clan. They all contribute. They've contributed to childcare. They've babysat. They've, been part of temper tantrums and meltdowns. They were part of grief when we lost our parents, my brother and I. Well, it's family. What can one say? It's precious. Next, please. A huge support for me was Adeshwar Bhatina, who was the founder of what is now Thermax. My grandmother-in-law, my husband's Mamaiji, Ketan Sunawala, both absolute stellar human beings who instilled values and value systems into me that make me strongly believe in being human. Humanity above all, above everything. And of course, Firoza, who, by the way, when I was in her classes, tried to throw me out of her classes twice. And I refused. I just refused to go. And I said, sorry, I'm not leaving your classes. I'll try and behave myself. I'll try and listen to you. It's very difficult, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying. And I'm glad that I did, because she's the one who, accidentally made me the teacher I am. She had an accident in '86, sent me off to teach, and here I am. And the journey continues. Next slide, please. The support that comes from having children who have been part of your academy since they were in maybe upper KG or first or second standard, grow up, come back as assistant teachers, grow into regular teachers or main teachers, grow up and go away and then start their own academy, become your competition, if ever that is possible, and actually just never go away. Well, they go away and they fly, but they're always with us. They're always connected. And I don't consider them competition at all. I actually see them as my biggest supporters, my collaborators. And I'm very proud when I say, look at this person, because they're so talented. They've made such a wonderful, wonderful life for themselves. And they're having so much fun and they're taking that work forward. And I had a little bit to contribute to that journey of theirs. Next, please. So courage. Courage, like I told you, comes from many, many things and allows you to sort of get over rather than give in to the fear. Next, please. My faith, Zoroastrianism. I'm happier to call myself a Zoroastrian than I am to call myself a Parsi. And we can have an entirely different discussion on a different platform about that someday. But the very tenets of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds that define who I am and what I do is one of perhaps the singular most effective things that have kept me on track. Otherwise, someone with a high imagination and a lot of, resources like myself could very well have gone the criminal way. Next, please. These are only, I think, half the people I sort of asked to send their pictures over when we were getting this slideshow together. These are people we work with. These are people I call friends. They are family as well, some of them, most of them. And there is this term in Hindi called vyavhar, which literally means your behavior and your dealings with people. I think it's important for all of us to consider how we deal with people, how we behave with people, because people will forget what you gave them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So I have received so much because of the good behavior, the goodwill of generations past. A lovely, lovely lady called Bhaktawar Tamboli, who lives next door practically to my house and runs a little nursery, didn't charge me for my son's tuition fee when my son was in the lower KG and upper KG with her, simply because she remembered my grandmother-in-law, Ketayun Sunawala, being the sweetest, kindest person who kept feeding her all the time. I mean, what can one say about goodwill? And what can one say about that kind of support? Leaves one speechless almost, doesn't it? Next slide, please. Courage to do whatever I feel like within context. Courage to let children believe that they can do or be whatever they want. And it's a hard thing being on stage. It's a hard enough feeling exposed and vulnerable that, oh my God, I have to go and do a presentation now or go and perform now. But my God, to be allowing people to do it with goop on their faces, as it were, it's mind-blowing. Next, please. That's me doing my Lambda Rep role, where it's not at all fun doing this work. This part of it was never fun. For the simple reason that it's more hard selling, it's more marketing, not my foray, but it has to be done because you remember the larger picture, the bigger picture being, hello, you want to promote drama, you want to promote drama education, do the work. There are some bits which can be very tiresome and very boring. Next, please. So I love calling myself mad. work that one is doing can make a difference, I'm very happy to call myself mad, because then I say I'm making a difference. 1,800 students participated in this project that you just saw a small glimpse of. Whoever said, Miss, we want to participate, Miss, we want to perform, Miss, we want to act, they were in. No teachers were involved in saying, you do this role, you do that role, none of that. And I think a lot of hard work and a lot of thought process goes into that kind of choice giving. And I'm very, very glad that I have a team that can pull it off when I say that that's what we'll do. The next little clip that you'll be watching,
because we are doing it in
before you start, yeah, if you can just start it after a moment. After a moment. Thank you, Matab. This teacher training was happening in a slightly unconventional environment. And I was talking about how drama teachers yank children, how personal space gets invaded, and children get yanked from one position to another, and sometimes in 3s and 4s and 5s even. So it might be a little incongruous for people who don't get the context. So I thought, let me tell you about that first. Okay, Mata, please play that.
Lovingly and gently, because we are doing it in a situation where you are supposedly practicing this, yes? But the moment we have a situation where I need 5 of you to move on to one side or 3 of you to move this side, I think it's okay, because I'm a teacher, to come and just invade your space and yank you, to touch you. Yes, and most of the time, because you are a little one and you're dreaming and this is what happens to you. Think about it. Yes? The reason I'm saying this is because this is the worst when drama is being done. Or when you're trying to do something on the PT display ground and you want people to stand in positions, stand in one line. You're not in one line. Move this side. Yes? Okay. So who again? Sit. Who are we doing?
So that was a glimpse of some teacher training that I do. And another... I find a lot of courage in the conviction that what I'm doing is important, because it instills into children and into new generations a love for the arts that is absolutely fabulous, a kind of a thought process that allows them to think about, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because even when you talk in drama about characterization, we talk about motive, we talk about objective, and in a roundabout way, from a script to the self, the transference happens. Children do at some point suddenly make that connection. The penny drops and they start thinking about why they do what they do, and whether they later on go on to become scientists or doctors or architects or whatever it is that they want to be. If they've thought about the choice involved, if they've had the support to do that, and if they have the courage to do that, I think humanity as a whole will be a happier humanity. And maybe instead of trying to mechanize it all, we'll try and rehumanize our entire species. Now that you've watched both those videos and you've heard me talking for so long, I'd like to introduce you to someone I've known for a very, very long time. Don't quite change the slide yet, Mahtab. I'll tell you when. This is my friend Adil Darukhanawala. In fact, he's married to my friend Jayu as well. And when I sent out this little invite to today's show, and he read that my hobby is my profession, he said, oh, it's mine too. And I said, look, please come on board and come and talk to everyone. Tell them about this, because this is important too. So here he is. I'd like to welcome Adil, who's, according to me,
Jayu as well.
And when I sent out this little invite to today's show, um, I would say that Adil is actually deserving of a 2-hour slot on this forum. But today he's getting a few minutes. Over to you, Adil. I'd like to welcome Adil, who's, according to me, as well. And when I sent out this little invite to today's show,
can you hear me?
I would say that Adil is actually deserving of a 2-hour slot on this forum.
Wow, that's too
But
much.
today he's getting a few minutes. Over to you, Adil.
What do I say, Mahrukh?
I'd like to welcome Adil, who's, according to me,
Hello.
as well. And when I sent out this
Adil, the videos in the background, can you switch that off?
I would say that Adil is actually deserving of a 2-hour slot on this forum.
Wow, that's
Minutes. Over to you, Adil.
what do I say to this, Mahrukh?
I'd like to welcome Adil,
Oh,
who's
this thing is just going on. It's going on and on.
and when I sent out this
The videos in the background, can you switch that off?
I would say that Adil is actually deserving of a 2-hour slot on this forum.
Wow, that's
Minutes. Over to you, Adil.
what do I say to this, Mahrukh?
I'd like to welcome
Oh,
Adil, who's
this thing is just going on. It's going on and on.
The videos in the background, can you switch that off?
I would say that
I can't see
Adil is
this.
actually deserving of a 2-hour slot on this forum. Minutes. Over to you, Adil.
What do I say to this, Mahrukh?
I'd like to welcome Adil, who's
This thing is just going on.
Sorry, I think we're facing a small. Oh, yeah, we have Adil back again.
Mata, if you can just go to the next slide, I think you'll be fine.
I think the recording is just going on. Same welcome from you, Mahrukh. Is okay. Now
Sorry,
I
I
think.
think we're facing a.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we have Adil back again.
Can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes,
Adil. Next slide, I think you'll be fine.
I think the recording is just going on. Same welcome from you, Mahrukh. Okay. Now
Sorry,
I
I
think.
think we're facing.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we have Adil back again.
Can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me?
I think you'll be fine.
Um,
That's Adil. I think Adil, you can start talking now.
no, I don't think Adil's on the screen now.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Maybe.
You want to come back to this later?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Adil, we'll just go ahead right now. And what we'll do is we'll move on to my next slide. So then, what do parents and teachers and even well-wishers of children today really want for their children to be when they grow up? This is a question that I can give you a few minutes for, not few, but a couple of minutes at least. And I believe you can post all your answers slide on your chat. Adil will come back to you. And
Okay,
what
okay.
do parents and teachers
Okay,
and even
okay.
well-wishers of children? No, not that slide yet.
Which slide?
Yeah, this one. Just leave it. You're welcome, all of you, to post your answers on the little chat box.
Yeah, we are having some answers coming in, Mahrukh. Anjali Bhatt has written that most parents would want the children to be good person, good human
Okay.
being, good person.
Okay. Any other answers coming in?
Now, yeah, yet waiting. To be happy. Dr. Kama is writing to be happy.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Shroff is saying the same. To be happy people.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Mahrukh, I have three kids too, and yeah, from my end, I would just like them to be successful, at peace, and to make a difference in the world. Once they are born, when they leave this world, to make some difference.
So then, do you notice that no one is saying, I want my child to have a Mercedes? I want my child to have a penthouse or a Rolex watch, and I'm not getting paid for any branding. How sad.
Yeah, we have Farah stating she would like them to be
Professionals who earn well, yes.
professionals earning well.
But
Yes.
no specifications about whether they'll be the STEM subjects or arts or any of that, isn't
No.
it? So let's just, so the next, don't just go to the next slide right now, Mata. Let me tell you about it first. The next slide is a compilation of answers that have been collected over the years. And they're not just collected by me, but by specialists who actually conduct surveys. So let's look at the next slide. When you look at a parent wanting or a teacher wanting children to be confident, respectful, have integrity, be inclusive, be empathetic people, have a balanced life, be patriotic, perhaps in the non nationalist way, where does money feature in all this? Where does a title feature in all this? Where does a designation feature in all this? How many of you married your spouses thinking, I think this guy will be MD someday? Okay, I see someone, Katie Gandevia, saying some parents want their children to achieve in life what they could not. Wow, that's huge. Why? If one reads Khalil Gibran's The Prophet and the section about our children not being our children, one realizes that it would be better to say, this is so and so. So, this is my daughter, Kate. And the very fact that I say this is my daughter somewhere gives me ownership. And if I own you, I feel I have to control you. And I have to live through you. We have to have an entirely different conversation about this. But what about just saying, this is Kate, she is a person, she has a heart, a head, and hands. Hopefully, my upbringing will kick in at some point and allow her to make the choices that she wishes to make. We can always guide her. In her choices, if there's a mistake, we are always there to support her. Whether it is to bounce back from or to rectify, that is a different thing and only time can tell. But don't we actually only always want our children to be happy? Most of the time, these are the answers that most parents give. And next slide, please. I'll go through this fairly quickly. Most of us don't realize that even though the legal drinking age in Maharashtra is 25, and world over, there are certain statutes towards what you can do at a certain age and so on and so forth, we as a nation, in India at least, have this criminal tendency to make children decide when they are in the 8th, 9th or 10th standard what it is that they want to do for the rest of their lives. And it's almost like, once they decide, it gets carved in stone. Whereas I would suggest that look at your child's interests, look at your child's aptitude, and then guide the child. Because there are some children who have a very, very high aptitude for science, but I know that they've opted for the arts. Ferguson College in Pune, this year, the arts section stopped taking in admissions at 98%. That's really saying something about what people did to our generation, where if you got above a certain percentage, you better go and do what should be done rather than what you could have done. Also, I think this fear of failing, not having a plan B, very reminiscent of the film Chichore, where kids don't have a plan B, or they don't know what to do if they fail, and then there are consequences. And also the fact that children today are very, very smart. They have understood that a diploma or a degree or even a post-graduation is no real solution for, or no real guarantee to their first job. And that's that. So I've been saying this in different ways in the past. Now I have the jargon to say. I think as parents, very often we miss out on the fact that social emotional learning is very low. We don't really think about 21st century competencies. We don't really think about the social emotional skills. We just learn this, do that, do this, do that. Let's go to this class, let's go to that class. So and so wants to go there, so let's take you to. Or the Joneses are sending their kids to that fancy class, so let's take you to. Ask the child. I asked my 4-year-old students, are you happy? Do you want to continue? Because even a 4-year-old child gets 2 free trial classes. And after the trial classes, a 4-year-old is fully capable of telling me, yes, I want to continue. No, my mother is forcing me. And these are, I think, things to think about. Would you just like me to finish and then take questions, or would you like Adil to come in right now? Because
Adil
I think
is
it's a good time for Adil to come in. Don't go on to the next slide though.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
I think you have to go back to Adil's slides.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Okay. Hi, Adil. I think now the voice is rectified, so it's all good.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Wonderful. So tell me, what do I do? Yeah, you going to ask me any questions? Mahrukh, are you going to put?
I think Adil, you can just tell us about what brought you into this field, where clearly your passion used to be biking and cars and bikes, and we know that your skills are definitely in writing. So how did you sort of?
Yeah, okay. So you can say that my earliest memory about motorcycles and cars, I'm a biker first and a car guy a close second. So I think started with my dad's Norton. I've got a picture of myself. I might be about 8-9 months old, perched on the tank of my dad's Norton in Cholapur, where we came from. And I think the bug has been with me ever since then. I didn't know that it would become my profession as such, because I grew up always surrounded by cars, bikes, literature upon them, people who really had great cars. So I would clamber into the cabin behind the wheel, get on my dad's or my uncle's bikes, etc. So it was something which was ingrained. I don't know how it happened, what it happened, but I'm so glad it happened. And by academics, I'm a qualified mechanical engineer. but I never worked for more than 18 months for what I studied all my life. So I would say one thing: go and do what your heart tells you to do. And it happened like that. That one day I went to see in 1977 the very first motor race of my life when the London Sydney rally passed through Pune. And one thing led to another, and there was an altercation on the road there with some pressmen, and who said, "If you think you know more about this business, why don't you write for us about this event?" And so I wrote, and suddenly they created a monster, and I've stuck with that. That's me perched on the ledge over there shooting the cars. I have not I've archived all my stuff which I've written and I've shot from August 26, 1977. So my repository of motoring stuff is very, very strong in that sense. So this is exactly the fateful day when I started this. And once I started writing, there was no holding back. I've never worked a single day in my life, let me tell you that, because my hobby is so intoxicating. Of course, you have to stay motivated all throughout, because I've seen a lot of youngsters who come into this profession. They come in for the glamour associated with a lot of cars and bikes, and then they don't want to work at it. We had Lunas and ambassadors and whatnot when we started in the 70s. Today we got the world's best cars and bikes, but I see these guys get jaded because they only want to drive a Ferrari, they don't want to drive a Maruti. So that sort of we never discriminated to this day, and I don't think we can ever. So motivation is very important. I've stayed motivated all my life. I can't dream of anything else apart from my wife and my kids and my family, which I love dearly. I think that if there was no cars and bikes, I would not have a reason to live. So in that sort of sense, you have to work hard at your passion as well, at your hobby as well. And then whatever comes across over there, you take it in stride. 44 years in this business, and I think I have never held back on that front. I have started some of the best known car magazines in the country. Car and Bike International I did from June 1987 to June 1998. Then Tata Infomedia asked me to set up probably the most seminal automotive magazine in the country, and I created Overdrive. From September 98 to April 2005, I did Overdrive. I headed Overdrive. I conceptualized not just Overdrive, but a lot of other magazines for Tata Infomedia. Unfortunately, the Tatas exited the business, and I didn't want to work with a venture capitalist. For the next 2 years, then I worked with the same management of Tata Infomedia, who started another firm, Next Gen Publishing, with the Shapurji Palanji Group, and we did Car India, Bike India, Commercial Vehicle India. But then fate again threw another curve at me, and the country's largest publishing house, the Times of India, asked me to set up a 360-degree approach to all forms of motoring communication in print, in the digital space, in the electronic space, television, in events. So, and I had a special department all to myself, which came to be known as Zig Wheels. We did Zig Wheels for 7 years, and probably the most fruitful years of my life after Overdrive, so to speak. We, in those days when we set up zigwheels.com, it was the third largest portal in the country after timesofIndia.com and economictimes.com. We had close to about 4 million unique visitors a month in those days. And yes, but it happened because we were pure play content creators. We loved what we did, and it spoke in all our efforts what we put through. I then had another 2 year stint with Z Television. Somehow or the other, it was the most, what do you call, polarizing stint of my life, because the work was good what we put in, but the people across over there wanted the content guys to go out and sell as well. That's not our forte. So I just opted out from there. And since then, I have concentrated on chronicling motoring history in India, because we have got no repository as such about our industry. And it is also something which is just down my street, and also a thing where I give back to the hobby or the passion which I had imbibed and which gave me so much in life. So I've done about 15 books so far to date, and couple of my books have gone on to win the Book of the Year award at the Guild of Motoring Writers in the UK, the only Indian to have done so. I didn't write the books because I wanted to win a prize. I wanted to write the books because I knew that I had to write them. So, in that sort of sense, is there what you see in one of the images there with the two gentlemen pulling the wraps of the book Mercedes Benz winning? That was the Book of the Year at the Guild of Motoring Writers. And the other book, Timeless Mahindra, has just been released on the 2nd of this month. And I'm already at work on two other books which are in the pipeline. I have done a lot of crazy things. We took two kinetic Honda scooters and went across the Sahara Desert. The first time ever an Indian magazine had done so in December 91 and January 92. I've got both the scooters still with me. And then in 2002, we took a Maruti Alto and ran 24 hours non-stop at the VRD, set up a new Indian record. And in 2016, we took 4 Tata Motors cars and ran them non-stop for 50,000 kilometers at the VRD in Ahmednagar. And we created a new Asian record for such a thing. So these are just some of the small few highlights of my career, because I don't think I need to keep on saying quite a lot. I'd rather have an interactive session where I can, if there are any pointed questions from people, I would like to answer them. But one message I'd like to give: in India, parents keep on telling their kids, if you don't become an engineer or a doctor, you're a failure in life. I don't think so. That's the case. Do what your heart tells you to do. My younger son, Kaizad, we were very scared as to what did he want to do in life. So after his 12th standard, I asked Kaizad, where do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because he didn't have a bent for figures and whatnot. So, and I always knew that whenever I would give him my camera, he'd shoot very well. So suddenly, my wife Jayu found out that there was a University of Pune has a degree course in photography. So we found out about that. And I said, Kaizu, would you like to? He says, yes, Dad, I want to as long as there's no writing work. I said, yeah, you have the degree course, you'll still have to write, you'll have to learn. So he said, okay, give it a try. I think it took it like a fish to water within 2 weeks of him joining there. Today, most of his stuff is there in my book. He has given some of the greatest pictures, and he has now found his calling in life. I say parents should be willing to let the child do what he wants to do. It's not about making money. It is about having the will and the zeal to live life satisfied that you are so happy doing it. And I think that this is the one message which I can definitely share, considering my very own career as well, and also as I see my son doing great and feeling good about it.
Thank you so much, Adil. That was really precious. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we had that technical glitch, but tell me, any questions now? Any questions that you have for either one of us or all of us?
Questions are coming as yet, Mahrukh. Still waiting for the questions to come.
Yes, sure, no problem.
In the meantime, while the questions are coming, I had a question that just popped up when I was listening to Adil, and that was, if we have a lot of financial backing of the family, it is easier to let our children take time to decide or to follow their heart's calling. But in case we don't have that, there are bills to be paid, there are student loans to be paid off, and so many other responsibilities of looking after the family. In such a scenario, what tip would you tell a young person of 22, 23 who's maybe parents are not able to financially support him or his education? At that time, how does one balance between career, which could pay a good salary, or pursuing their heart's desire or their hobbies? How does one balance that?
My saying so is, if he pursues his heart's desire, he will also find an inclination to sustain himself. Just a heart's desire is not alone across it. He has to find a way to what you call fulfill his obligations to himself, his family, or his sustenance, and yet do that thing. That's what I meant. I just don't say because my dad never left us any. My dad was a salaried person. He was like so many Parsis of his generation went into the bank, and maybe that was, I think, a lost generation of our Bawas. We opted across to do that sort of thing. I'm not saying anything against my dad per se, but I've seen it in our diaspora in that sort of sense. But we forsake commerce. We were entrepreneurs in so many ways. And my dad came from a family, but he opted out of the family business on some principle in life. So I don't hold it. But I've seen many others. Plus, I must also say one thing, that you want to be so focused on your passion that the passion also takes as much of your effort as you do a job. The thing is that if you invest in your passion, you will do your job much better. Otherwise, if you just do your job, you may not have your heart in it at all, and you may do it as a monotonous sort of manner to do it. So that's why I say it's not always about money or parents to support that. Like I was going to support Kaizad for his education any which way. But the thing is that he found out a niche for himself. And he said, yeah, many parents say, what are you going to do? You're going to do photography, you're going to go and shoot at weddings. No, my son didn't want to go and shoot at weddings. He wanted to become a photographer. He didn't want to become a cameraman. Very big difference between the two. So you got to know, get this. And we all come from a home where, what will the neighbors say? Your son has become a cameraman. Come on. My mother, my late me, she would say, Adil, you're still playing with cars. Now you're 30 years old. You still got your model cars. I said, yeah, that's my passion. I cannot help it. That's it. So what I'm saying is, you got to understand where the sibling is coming, where the child is coming from. Understand him, because many a time we say, no. What will my mother say that your son has become a cameraman? Oh, he's still playing with cars. Please, can we what you call go beyond that? At least listen to the children. I think that is very well.
The next, yeah.
There's a question for me to talk about a school in the Himalayas that I look after. Well,
Yeah.
no, I don't look after it at all. I just go there once every 2 years and do a hell of a lot of teacher training. And again, it's need-based. If they need a particular skill to be developed, and if I think that I can contribute to that skill development, I'm happy to do it. And I can't quite understand this question posted by an Abnaz. What if you don't your passion as a child or as an adult or as a parent? What if I don't what? I didn't quite get that question, so I don't think I can answer it. I totally agree. Yes.
We should move ahead, I think.
Sure. If you don't mind, Mahtab, if you could show me the last slide, please. The penultimate one. Not that one. The one before that. Okay. So I'd like to leave all of you with a few thoughts just about, what it is that we think education is. Whether it is to tell someone that, it is, you have to think this. Vis-a-vis, consider things, think about it. Don't believe everything we say. In any case, we are probably not going to be alive when you are coming into your peak and sort of, well, at the heights of your success, we as parents may not be around. The practice that goes into the tenets of the good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. It's one thing to just say it or keep reading it on a wall, but to actually catch yourself having negative thoughts or having some kind of doubt and then working through it, possibly with that question wheel that I'm leaving you with. And life, according to me, is an adventure. And we, as parents and teachers and guides or mentors or whatever we are, it's not our journey, it's not our road. How dare we be presumptuous enough to imagine that we can tell them how to go, where to go? Let's just prepare our kids. We are more lost than they are.
Yeah. Yeah, Mahrukh, one last question's come up. That what if Abnaz has just clarified that what if we do not know what our passion is? Like Adil said, do follow your passion, but there are quite a few children and adults who are lost. They don't know what their passion is.
Oh, that's a tragedy, actually speaking. You got to have some passion in your life. You
I
just have.
don't entirely agree with that, Adil, for the simple reason that not everyone is privileged enough to develop a passion. Very often, a lot of children have not had the exposure. Uh, the roti kapra makan cycle is so stringent and so tight for so many kids and the family, that there has been no question of any kind of exposure that leads to the thought that maybe this can become something. To that, I would only say, think about what you like doing. It could be something like cooking. It could be something like singing. Not that I recommend every bathroom singer trying to cut records, but follow your heart. I mean, my mother was an accountant and she loved it. She thrived on it. I couldn't understand. I just couldn't understand her fascination with numbers, because I think her love contributed to my hatred. I mean, she loved it as much as I hated it. It was that simple. So to each his own, whatever floats your boat.
True.
I hope that answers the question, Paul.
Yes, thank you so much, Mahrukh. Thank you, Adil, also. It was indeed a very informative and interesting session. And for more details, viewers, for if you want to know more about GeoParsi, please visit our website. That's geoparsi.org. Also, our Facebook and Instagram pages are waiting for your comments or questions. In case you have some more questions that we couldn't answer today, do write to us. Our email address is geoparsi151@gmail.com. Yeah, and next Friday we'll be having another interesting Friday forum. The speaker will be Mr. Dinyar Patel, and he'll be discussing about Dadabhai Naurozji and the global Zoroastrian community. Please do join us next Friday also. Thank you, Mahrukh, once again. It was indeed a pleasure to have both of you here. Thanks, Adil.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Mine. Thank you.